Welcome to Advertising Champions, your go-to destination for insights into the dynamic world of advertising. I'm Tony Stanol, and today we're talking with Sean Hardwick, who is a portfolio director at Just Global. Welcome, Sean.
Thanks for having me, Tony. This is an honor.
Thank you. And you come from an agency background. Tell us a little about your career trajectory up to this point.
Yeah, fantastic. So from the age of 10, I wanted to be in advertising. I just knew, having watched too many reruns of Bewitched, I knew I wanted to be Darren Stevens. Seemed like he had a great job. So I started reading Adweek and Ad Age in high school. I became an advertising nerd very, 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 very early. I was lucky enough to get an internship at Chiat Day in downtown Los Angeles when I was still going to USC, fight on. And it turned into the career that I always wanted. Right? I progressed to Chiat Day, went over to Team One. Then I went back to Chiat Day for sort of the halcyon days of my career, which was to run the Apple account when Steve Jobs came back to Apple. And then I did a brief stint as Steve's client at Apple. So I had the honor of reporting directly to Steve Jobs for 3 months and all that brought with it. Happy to tell you the stories. I'm actually writing a book about the experience as well. But then tried being a partner in my own agency, then tried the client side for a little bit. And finally, about 6 years ago, I found the B2B space. And I had done, Super Bowl commercials and ran Taco Bell and ran Adidas and ran Apple and, all the things had been done in the space of B2C. So I moved over to B2B, and I have to tell you, it's been a complete renewal, and I can't wait to tell you about it.
And for our listeners, B2C is businesses advertising to consumers, and B2B is
business to business. So and I can get into it, but the old adage is consumer products are bought. The ad runs, you go down to the store, the consumer buys the products. B2B products are sold, right? So what happens is we create the leads that then sales teams come in, have sales meetings, give them content, give them a bid. Business to business products are sold, not bought.
Okay, very interesting distinction. Now, what types of categories do you get involved with these days?
100% technology. And by being a tech nerd, this is exactly the space that I want to live in. I'm here in San Francisco, which is kind of the apex of a lot of the activity, especially now around AI. Right. Man, what a rebirth we've had here in the city around AI. But we specialize completely in technology. And I can get into the complexities of B2B advertising versus B2C advertising, which has been, again, a rebirth in my career. It's been fascinating.
And what channels do you use in terms of platforms or I'm guessing it's probably not television heavy.
Well, it's funny. Connected TV is becoming one of the media channels that we're using significantly now, for at least for awareness campaigns, right? But most of what we're doing is demand gen campaigns. So we're using channels like LinkedIn. We're using display. We're bought programmatically. We're also using things like email newsletters and this thing that the people in most agencies haven't heard of called content syndication, where a white paper from the client will be used as a lure to get a lead, and then content syndication follows up on that lead, where we follow through to give them more content to move them through the sales funnel.
Right. A lot of this wouldn't have been possible in the pre-digital era.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. It's very rare that we do anything in the analog space anymore. Even new content that we create, say video content, it immediately goes into digital channels, because like all advertising these days, everything has to be measurable, right? It has to be targeted, it has to be measurable, and we have to show effectiveness immediately, or it's not working and we have to move on to something else.
Right. Switch it out. Last few seconds, Sean, give me a success story, something. You don't need to name the client if it's confidential, but something that you guys had some pretty powerful results with.
Yeah. So this is a wonderful story of a tech client that nobody had ever heard of, who was operating in a space where Amazon Web Services was one of their competitors. So truly a
Mm.
David versus Goliath story. But we went in and we said, nobody knows who you are. You look like everybody else. You're branded with the same colors as everybody else in the category. What we believe you need is a business to business, big $2 billion tech firm doing a lot of revenue, but nobody had ever heard of it. And more importantly,
Mhm.
nobody knew what their value proposition was, right? And one of the things that is wonderful about B2B technology is to be able to use some of the strategies and tactics that I've learned on B2C, like it's
Mhm.
got to be simplified, right? We've got to
Mhm.
simplify the offering down to something people can remember if you really want this brand to exist in people's heads. We did that with this client, and then we did some very marquee placements, as well as a lot of blocking and tackling on the demand gen plate. We put a board up in Times Square when on the NASDAQ building, right, and it was up for 15 minutes, but then we took it and used it across social to get millions and millions of views and look way bigger than we are, from a
Uh-huh.
brand standpoint. And then there were a couple of other opportunities that we took advantage of. And the brand recognition doubled within about a 3-month period. The brand imagery that we looked at was positive by almost 10 points. And, there were some other successes when it comes to lead generation and things like that. But that's one success story that I remember having,
Great.
simplified the proposition, telling people what this company is all about, not trying to overplay it, because I'm sure you've seen a lot of B2B advertising. You're like, what in the world does that company actually do? Right.
Right. Right.
And so we always make sure that there's a fundamental understanding at the right stage, top of the funnel. And then we go on to tell them how that product can impact their business world, not their consumer world, but their business world, using, the messaging techniques that are tried and true in the advertising business.
So it sounds like an Effie award in the making, Sean. Well, thanks for sharing that with
Oh my gosh.
us.
Yeah,
And thanks for being with us today.
absolutely. Great to see you again, Tony. Thank you.
You too. And thank you for joining us on this episode of Advertising Champions. You could find more podcasts of ours and others like it at dailynewsnetwork.com. We'll see you next time.
We've been around for 16 years, working with clients, with thousands of clients. We're working with agencies to be able to scale them and grow them and provide them services that would cost them way more than it would for them to do it themselves. Anything oriented around lead generation, video creation, web design, we're full service, so we can really serve most people.